everyone, and welcome to the Jeff Buller Show. Today I have with me Tim Cakir. Now, Tim is an international man. He was born in Istanbul and then has been born to, I think, a French mother and a Turkish father. He's not quite sure what he is most days because he's in the middle. But Tim is a growth entrepreneur and who helps companies, entrepreneurs, and students achieve fast and consistent growth. He's worked with 17 startups to date. Some of his best achievements, including helping 2 startups receive 1.7 million euros in Horizon 2020 funding. We'll find out what that is. Increasing monthly revenue run up of one startup from 80k to 300,000k in less than 18 months, and completing projects such as the implementation of OKRs, building dashboards, and rebranding and product launches. He loves his technology tools and platforms, so we're going to have a little chat about that because tools are one of the most important things with technology companies. Tim's passion for helping people realise their potential is one of his focuses, to bring their ideas to life, in other words, to act on their ideas. He also teaches Bachelor and Masters programs at 2 universities in Barcelona because one's not enough. So it's the ESEI International Business School, Barcelona, and the Geneva Business School, and I've heard of Geneva. During his spare time, you can find him sailing, watching Formula One, which we can talk about briefly as well. I've just started watching that, rewatching that again, and they're in Mexico this weekend, I believe. Or growing veggies in his garden. Obviously, he wants to get back to his roots instead of just playing with tech. And on Saturday nights, you'll find him in the DJ booth because he loves his music. Welcome to the show, Tim.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you so much for the amazing introduction. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Tim's in Barcelona, which I've never visited, but I've heard it's a beautiful city. And it's 10 p.m. at night, and it's 8 a.m. here. And this is what I love about technology, Tim, is we can have a high definition video chat from the other side of the world and record it and then can share it with our audience. I never take this for granted. It's an absolute pleasure to be able to have these fireside chats to discover some of the secret sauce that you've discovered along the way to help companies grow, especially in a digital world. So, Tim, what got you into this growth startup area? So was there a aha moment? Was there what was it? Was it a religious experience? I don't know what it was, but how did it happen?
So I started my career in sales, Jeff, and I was selling carpets door to door in California and beyond. So the whole US. I did a couple of US trips in a truck and selling carpets door to door. And I'm not very proud of it when you think about it now, because I sold carpets to people that didn't need carpets, but I needed the money, and I was 18, 19 years old. I needed the cash. I was in the US. It was the American dream for me. Then I realized that I saw something called marketing suddenly, and I was like, I can find the people who actually need the carpet, right? Or people that needs that product that I'm selling. And that made me switch to marketing. A few years later, that when I was in London, in the UK, what I've realized is that by mixing my knowledge of sales, marketing, and then I went to learn a little bit of development, products and coding, I was able to call this growth. And then I realized there was this movement that people were calling growth hacking. And I realized that the hacking wasn't a really sustainable way of growing companies. So I tried to kind of change my approach from growth hacking to finding more strategies, processes, tools that can help you achieve sustainable growth.
Right. So, yeah, and I totally agree with you on the growth hacking. It's like this one-off magic idea that you pull out of a magic box, and it just suddenly turns your business into a billion-dollar. Yeah, yes, right. So it all sounds sexy and really fascinating. And sometimes you stumble upon an idea that really just works, and that could be timing. So I remember that I discovered Twitter in its early days, along with a lot of social media, was very organic. So I worked out a way to growth hack Twitter by using some tech to actually automatically follow people. Then I grew up a big distribution list. I also manually followed people, so I grew my distribution. It was a little growth hack, a little opportunity. And we know stories of Airbnb I think growth hacking. I think it was Reddit or something like that, where they was it
Yeah,
Okora? I'm not quite
Airbnb
remember.
did Craigslist. Yeah, they were putting their
Craigslist, yeah,
listing on Craigslist and getting the traffic from Craigslist. That's
yeah.
correct.
So there's these wonderful myths and stories of growth hacking. Um, so what's your approach when you're engaged by a startup or a company to create sustainable growth in a digital world? Because the thing is, in the last 10 years, the way we grow companies and the way businesses is a very, very different to what it used to be, isn't it? So, what's your process for sustainable growth? I'd be interested in the steps and so on.
Yeah, I can definitely give a quick overview. It's going to
Yeah.
be quite a quick overview, obviously. But basically, what I've realized is that there is one major problem in most companies, especially after the 55, 70, 75 people. After that, communication becomes a big problem. Even if we say, oh, yeah, we have Slack, we have Workplace, Facebook Workplace, or whatever, and everybody says, oh, we communicate a lot. We have a lot of meetings, we have Zoom, as we mentioned. And there is still an issue of communication. All the communication that we try to do is synchronous in meetings in offices as well if we're not remote. But asynchronously, we don't have a proper way of documenting things, knowing who's doing what, so that we don't repeat the work, making sure that we all row in the same direction. The rowing in the same direction. I think that's why I guess I love sailing as well. Going into one way, is definitely I've seen this in every company. Is everybody's trying to do something else. We do bring some goal setting frameworks like OKRs and so on, but people don't believe in it. So what is my first thing is to make sure that we all understand the same thing, that we all row in the same direction, each department. And how do I do that? It's by trying to bring better frameworks, not just better, but more sustainable frameworks than OKRs, right? So we take OKRs, objectives and key results, right? Just for the people that may not know. And what we try to do is to actually start talking more about the challenges that each team member, each department has as well. Because right now, what I've realized is that we all got into this a bit fluffy, I'm going to call it. And we're all like, oh, goals, revenue goals, revenue goals, revenue goals, revenue goals. Okay, but nobody says about the problems that we have. Right. And when we start talking about the problems and we're announcing these problems or we're documenting them and putting them somewhere, we always find another team member who has a solution for it that we've never expected. So what I'm trying to mention here is my first goal is to really bring the collective intelligence and really tap into that collective intelligence that you have in your team, because you've hired these people for a reason. Don't put them in a box. Don't put them in a box and say, this is your job and that's the only thing that you're doing. No. You have to be able to actually have more cross-skill teams. This is why I create growth squads. So right after that, what's going to happen is growth squads. One person from product, one person from marketing, one person from sales, one person from customer support, sometimes even a finance person. They should sit together and they should act as a team, as a growth team. Because the things that they will find together, as looking from different angles, are so much better than the things that we can do as one kind of team that only thinks about marketing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I agree totally. The collective intelligence of genius, frankly, of groups, especially when you bring them together without putting them in boxes, I think can be very surprising. And they come up with ideas that I'm constantly surprised by my team and really enjoy the insights that they provide and going, gee, that's a great idea. And this happens, every week. And and I agree with you on the synchronous, because synchronous is really good because you can record something, then it becomes documented, then you actually can then create a process from it. And it's something to me that certainly emerged, I think, over the especially last 12 months to 2 years, it become more in the consciousness of companies, is this synchronous communication or asynchronous communication. And look, what I've been doing too is been interviewing new team members, writers, copywriters, and what I do is I record the interview, so I don't have to have everyone show up in the interview together to chat to the potential hire. I actually just record it, and then I share it, and then say, tell me what you think. And they can watch it in their own time, so it's a much more efficient use of time, and especially I think asynchronous becomes even more important when we're talking about teams just like we are in different time zones. So,
Absolutely.
So, what are your favourite? There's some emerging tools. What are your favourite asynchronous tools?
I mean, I love what you mentioned about recording your interviews. If you record your interview and let's say the interview was an hour, you might not send the whole hour to someone so that they watch the whole hour, right? So if we can start actually transcripting that and putting tags or putting like marks in it, that's much better. So we do have softwares like platforms like Grain.co. There's a bunch of them now, other ones. What it does, it will record our Zoom, but it will put all the text together. I can have a little notepad next to it, and I can say, "Oh, that was a good moment." I can just flag it. I can just put a little comment. So when we share it, we don't have to go throughout the whole video, but we can just watch the important bits where our CEO on the all hands said something that we want to go back to. So I think that first of all, on the synchronous, we can asynchronous that by recording, but making it more digestible. So any tool like that, so Grain and so on.
How's grain? How's grain spelt?
Grain, like grain.
Okay.
Grain.
Okay.
Yeah. Loom video, I
Yeah.
think is one of my favorites. Yeah, absolutely. Loom, just record. Like sometimes we try to write an email and we can't explain what we're trying to say. You just do a 2-minute Loom video and that's it, right?
Yep.
So these are more on the bringing the synchronous to asynchronous and trying to do a better communication. But right now I'm obsessed about one tool that I'm going to bring it right now, if you don't mind.
That's
It's
all right.
Notion.
Notion.
Notion. Yeah.
Okay.
If you've heard about Notion, I think they've got valued now at 250. No, they got 250 million, and they just got valued at 7 billion. They're a note-taking tool at the end of it. They started as a note-taking tool, but they've taken that power into something that what we called it became a no-code tool. So we can do things like building almost platforms on Notion to do our day-to-day work, to do our weekly syncs, to automate many processes and so on. And I've been obsessed with it since the beginning of COVID. So it's been about close to 2 years that I've been learning inside out, and it just really saved, I think, my sanity.
Okay. And what do you typically use it for?
What I don't use it for. I learned about this framework called PARA, PARA, which is projects, areas, resources, and archives. And what I've done is I've built a second brain, as some people call it. And my second brain basically is I'll have all my projects, I have all my areas, I have all my resources. Everything comes into one platform where I can find anything that I need when I need it. We have so much information out there, Jeff, as you know it. We bookmark things, we put it on different links, bookmarks, and folders. We try to copy and paste things and so on. We use Evernote. We use so many of these tools that I realized we had so much information in so many places. Or we try to keep in our brain. And our brain, I think it's definitely not made to store information, right? Low cognitive work of remembering things now should be stored somewhere, right? So Notion really taught me that, and this para methodology. So I'll have even things like our family finances. We have just a 3-month-old baby. We even have all her paperwork and everything on Notion. So I'm trying to really centralize it to become my professional and my personal area.
Okay. So with PARA, and that stands
Yeah.
for methodology of process,
No, it's projects, areas, resources, and archives.
projects, areas,
Resources and archives.
resources, and archives. Sorry about taking notes here, but
That's all right.
we're here to learn apparently. So cool. So Notion's one tool that you're using, which is great, because that's the big problem, isn't it? Like you end up with so many tools, I think. And then the other problem with tools is then you subscribe to the tools, forget to use them, and then suddenly you're paying for them every month. And you check your credit card and going, oh my God, there's $2,000 in expenses of tools I'm not even using because trying to remove yourself from subscription products is sometimes very difficult or hard to find or even know. So,
Retention strategy. That's the retention strategy of growth people.
So your growth strategy is asynchronous. Okay, getting better communication, everyone on the same page. Okay, where do we go from there?
Well, where we go from there is it's getting, as we mentioned, one of these frameworks. If it's OKR or something that I'm inventing, a new one that is going to be hopefully soon next year. I'm going to write a book about it. It's the GCO, Goals, Challenges, and Opportunities, and I've been starting to talk about it a little bit out there. It's basically goals is what OKRs does with the objectives and the key results, qualitative and quantitative data. And then the C is for challenges, and this is where I mentioned about the problems, the issues, and so on.
Yep.
Some companies will have an issue log, but it's just an issue log somewhere. You never see it again. Maybe the CTO sees it. A couple of people on engineering will see it, but that's it. Instead, challenges is something that even a customer support agent can raise a challenge and say, hey, I keep fixing this thing 10 times a day, right? And then somebody suddenly can bring the O, which is the opportunity, from a different department and say, oh, that's very easy fix. I can do that in an hour's time. And then they fix that, and that opportunity becomes a quick win and a really good hack, if you want to call it, which is not a hack, but a nice little thing that is done there and then for growing the company. So after you have this framework and everybody agreed, we've tapped into it. It's the collective intelligence. So it's the ideation sessions, being able to, whenever you have an idea, a place to put it. If this is called a Miro board, if this is called a Notion document, or even if you want the G Suite Drive, I don't mind, but I want everybody in the team to be able to do ideas and to bring ideas. As you mentioned, your team, they have brilliant ideas and it comes every week.
Yep.
But we sadly, we're not shocked anymore. It's in many companies this doesn't happen, sadly, right? People don't they don't speak up sometimes. So we have to create a space for speaking up as well. We have to create this space that everybody feels comfortable to speak up and to say what they have in their mind. So it's very psychological and it's very HR. The first things that I do, I think. From there on, it's definitely going back to the tools, right? So what tools do we have? Do we have a proper marketing automation platform where everybody knows how to use it? Even sales can help marketing do the right campaigns.
Yep.
Right? How many times marketing and sales will blame each other for the quality of leads or not closing the leads and so on? So to get rid of these, it's great to bring people together into the same platforms. So these are really the first approaches that I do, but then it really goes into, okay, who are your leads? Where do you find them? As you mentioned, the Twitter hack, that's fun. It's not sustainable, but we can find many other sustainable ways to do that. If you're bringing value, you can automate LinkedIn and making sure that it's the right people. So those will be little strategies that we'll put in place. But then the overarching, really, it's making sure that we all speak in the same language and that we're going into the same direction.
Yep. It's very interesting. So, and you know, I interview entrepreneurs all the time, and the big thing too, despite all the tools and great communication, bring everyone on the same page, is that turning those ideas into action is
Prioritization.
yeah. And I was interviewing Stephen Summers from Ireland recently, guy behind Marketplace Superheroes, amazing young man, mid-30s, several businesses, Facebook, fulfillment by Amazon, businesses, training, owning the $20 million turnover e-commerce platform. He said one of the things that changed his life and helped his team was a book written called The 12-Week Year. And very interesting book about that the growth happens out of action rather than specifically just goals. Because in other words, we've got to take action on priorities. Obviously, they've got to be priorities. Okay, so, but keeping everyone accountable to having completed action. But do it in sprints, not stressful sprints necessarily, but keeping everyone accountable. So I think, the big thing I certainly hear as I talk is that successful entrepreneurs are the ones that have actually acted on the ideas. And I suppose keeping the team accountable on that as well. So that's certainly a great book that I recently read, The 12-Week Year. So
Definitely will read that one, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you. And since we're talking about books, I'm just going to talk about Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Yep, it's a good
And
book.
I love that the simplest thing, right? Is 1% growth every day, right? We don't have to do such life-changing things every day, but by doing a little bit every day, we will grow, right? And this is where I think we forget. We get stuck so much on planning what we're gonna do that we actually don't execute it, right?
Yep.
So when we execute it, even if it's a mistake, that's great. If we're gonna fail, that's great. But we will know why we failed, and the next time we'll do it better, right? But if we don't do anything, nothing happens, right? And we
Exactly.
just keep talking, we just keep talking, we just keep planning, strategizing 5-year companies, and then nothing happens, right? Don't strategize 5 years, strategize the next 3 months and the 6 month. Go for it, and you learn as you go.
Yeah, the learning happens from doing.
Yep.
The hows will reveal themselves in the action. That's really, and because a plan is just a prediction of the future. And in a and if you think about it, this is really fascinating. It's like, oh yeah, I know what's going to happen in 5 years' time because I've written a 5-year business plan. And going, you have no idea. You are going to get, like, everyone has a plan till you get hit in the face. That's a famous Mike Tyson quote. So, but the marketplace is going to tell you. So that's the only way. And I've just read a great book also by MJ DeMarco, Millionaire Fastlane, and Unscripted. Is quite raw and real though, and so and I totally agree. For me, if the business plan's longer than one page, you've overplanned because you just don't know.
Absolutely. And this is why I don't even do business plans anymore. I'll do a business model canvas, a BMC, a very quick business model canvas. Go with it. Business plans are for investors who doesn't know where to invest and how to invest.
That's
Sorry.
right.
I'm sorry about that, but I had to say it there.
Yeah, the magic's in the doing. It really, really is. And you talked about, Atomic Habits with Clear. Yeah, I've read that book. Great book. I I certainly agree. Is the thing I ask myself every day, if I'm on a new project, new product, we're launching a new product soon. I said, what did I do today to move that forward, to
Hmm.
create momentum? Even if it's just one thing, because we get busy in life in our business, running it, managing it. But then, if you want to launch a new aspect of the business, new product, what did I do to move this forward today? And I think that's something that, and you think about it, if you did that every day, that's 365 actions in one year, and you've got to be playing the long game. Yeah, so
That's a lot of growth. Yeah.
that's right. So, what other insights you learned along the way with growth that have surprised you, um, and what surprised you over the last, I suppose, 12 months to 2 years?
I mean, maybe I should not say this because I'm a growth consultant, but is that I don't believe in what we call growth because I think that everything should be growth. We're doing something to grow, to do better. We grow, kids grow. Now I'm seeing, like with my baby. And I was writing it on my newsletter. It was really hilarious. I was like, with my baby, I'm still experimenting and learning because I'm a first time father. But obviously, there is more at risk now, right? So I have to be careful about the experimentation and not go too crazy. And that's what I really realized that growth became this buzzword, and we will see very soon that we won't have sales department or marketing departments. Everything's going to be growth because right now, as you've seen the movement, product-led growth, sales-led growth, everything's is growth-led something or whatever. So what I've really realized is that at the end of the day, what we're all trying to do, it's is growing a company or growing ourselves or growing whatever we're doing. But if we focus on revenue, and this is where I saw the great CEOs or the bad CEOs differences, is the great CEO doesn't focus on revenue, right? The bad CEO does focus on revenue, and their only goal will be revenue, and they won't grow. And this is what I realized. The great CEOs that I have seen that I had the chance to consult and advise and help and learn from actually a lot
Yep.
is the ones who actually are obsessed with the problem that they're trying to solve. And they don't think about the money. The money comes. The money comes if you're solving something, right? If you're solving a real problem, that does come.
Yeah.
So I think that now lately, especially in the last couple of years, I'm really starting to also be obsessed about this, about what is the problem that we're solving, what is the solution that we're bringing to that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's if you think about the likes of Uber that tried to
Hmm.
solve a range. Actually, Uber adds a lot of value because it solves so many problems. Like they basically show up when they say they're going to show up. It makes payment easy. That was a problem too. Stumbling with your credit card. So the value they add that fixed the problem of the taxi industry, which was just, you know, had been basically like a protected species for in many countries.
Yeah.
And now no longer they were, and then everyone's screaming that Uber is breaking all the rules. But sometimes the only way to make things happen is to break rules. And these are man-made rules, right? These are rules of government, rules of men and
Yeah,
women.
exactly.
And why should you play the game by everyone else's rules? That's what I love about MJ DeMarco's book, Unscripted. Okay, so why follow everyone else's template? So
Innovation will happen, Jeff. Sorry, I cut you there, but innovation will happen even if we want it or we don't want it, right? So innovating the taxi industry was going to happen. It happened. They didn't like it. It's still happening. Other things are going to happen. So many of the industries are going to be changed. They're going to be optimized. Innovation is going to come. We have to embrace it now instead of saying, oh, they're going to take my AI, machine learning is going to take my job. No, it's not going to take your job. Actually, it's going to take the low cognitive power things that we don't need the human brain for, right? And the human brain should start thinking outside the box more and start creating again and focusing on that intelligence instead. So I think that we need to embrace innovation now. I mean, if we haven't yet, because it's happening in everyday problems that we see, in everyday services that we use, and it's just the beginning.
yeah. And what's excited me, the silver lining in COVID, despite the loss of life, which is very sad. What the silver lining is, it's dragged us kicking and screaming into the future and solved a lot of problems that would have taken 10 years of natural evolution to solve and innovation. And like asynchronous communication, Zoom, like remote work, right? So everyone's rethinking the workspace. How we work. Do we need to work in a city? Do we need to drive,
an hour
each way? So I read a really interesting quick snippet this morning in the news about someone saying, is driverless cars and all the tech for that necessary? Why don't we ask the question, do we really need cars? Why don't we actually create cities that don't need cars and are walkable?
That would be that would be incredible.
Yeah. So, and you know what I love about European cities is they're much more walkable than most, because they were designed and built before the car.
Yeah, that's very true. Since you saw you read the snippet, I just saw an image that actually quite impressed me. It was some cities in 2050. And there was the image, it looked like a postcard image of these cities. And Barcelona, Madrid looked actually very green, very innovative, because it is happening here. Sadly, some cities in South America look very dark and gray, or in Asia as well. There were some other amazing cities in Europe that were looking very, very, very attractive for 2050. Right, and what is this? As you mentioned, we're walking everywhere. We don't have to go to the office. Maybe we do have to do some meetings to have face to face, but we're living according to that wherever we have to be, and that shows you a better future. Running to Mars is not the solution, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's not fixing the problem.
Yeah, it's not fixing the problem. We're just running away from the problem, and we're gonna do the same exact thing there.
Yeah, it's like giving a pill to actually fix something, but not fixing the underlying symptom. Because we're going, we need more planets to rape and pillage, rather than actually, why don't we work out how to live on the one we're on? So that'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
That's really one of the things that on this big big profiles, big businessmen, that I'm getting a little bit sad. And we all want to go to space. That's great, because we were obsessed about it, because we don't know what's there. Let's go. And we're forgetting to help here. We're helping a little bit, but we could do so much more, and we could actually fix the problem that we have at hand. And COVID, just before the COVID, we were becoming much more conscious about this. Then COVID hit. We completely forgot about this because we got obsessed about our health, and we got very sad, very scared. And it is sad. A lot of lives were taken, and it's very, very sad. But we got back to plastic. We got back very easily to plastic, to masks on the streets, gloves in the beginning, and that very quickly took us back on the thoughts that we have about saving the planet. And if we don't save the planet, it's not just a virus that's going to kill us; it's Mother Nature, Mother Earth will take us.
I totally agree. And one thing I did enjoy about lockdowns, for example, was the simplicity. I didn't have to worry about the planning, the busyness, the commuting, the travel. You're able to focus on what mattered, and that was, you know, even Zoom calls with friends and family, and exercising more. Look, I exercise normally quite a bit. I keep active. Need to move. If you don't move, you die. That's going to happen at any rate. But the reality is that we need to keep moving. So now I'm going to quickly go back. We need to finish up here shortly because I'm aware of your time, because you're going to fall asleep because it's nearly 11 p.m. in Barcelona.
I'd like to add something before, Jeff, if you don't mind, because you opened something great there about how COVID, and I think that I had some people telling me, oh, networking is dead, or like they had some problems about networking. I used to network in Barcelona for the free beers, right, after meetup groups and so on, right? And now suddenly I was able to network with all around the world, right? There was not Clubhouse, but Lunch Club, if you're aware of it. Like, it would introduce two people randomly from all around the world. When we were locked down inside the house, instead of traveling that hour where, you know, you're in the metro stuck with some people sweating, you sweating, I was able to sit at home, meet people in Australia, meet people in Asia. And I met so many more people, and my network got so much wider during COVID than just living in the city.
Oh, it's fantastic. I had, without knowing, I actually planned and launched the podcast like 1 week before COVID hit in Australia. So I've interviewed 100 fabulous, awesome people, entrepreneurs, all around the world over the last 18 months. It's just been fantastic. It's like, and I get all these insights and ideas that I sometimes steal and use in my own business. So, but it's just been fabulous to actually have this medium and technology platform to do this. Now, the question I had was, you said that growth is really just CEO. The best people that know how to grow their business are CEOs that are obsessed with problem solving. In other words, how can they solve that big problem they're trying to solve for their clients? And we mentioned Uber as part of what that idea came out of, solving a whole range of problems, actually. So, so beyond that, what are some of your, maybe a couple of quick takeaways to finish up here? What are some top tips you'd say to people that want to grow, apart from the one to be obsessed with problem solving for your clients? What are some of your top couple of tips for you to leave with our audience today?
Absolutely. I think maybe it's going to sound ridiculous, but be obsessed about that customer. Be obsessed about that persona that you're trying to solve the problem for. And really don't be obsessed about your product, because a lot of us, we're like, oh, we built this product. Forget about the product. The product will change. The product will become something that wasn't what it was in the beginning at all. You'll pivot a lot. And I think that the other kind of tips that I might have is, use technology for the good cause, and make sure that you know why you're using that technology. I come to companies that, as you mentioned, they'll have 50 tools. 20 of them are useless. They don't even know why they're using it. It's just they have it for a reason. It's try to centralize it. More tools doesn't mean that we're fixing the problems inside our company. So be a bit more selective. Be a bit more selective, because I know there's so much option out there. And the other things is build something that is sustainable itself. Build something for a mission, for a vision, right? Don't just build a company because you want to also make money, because that you're not going to go very far. But if you do build something because you have a vision, you will have a bunch of people that will follow you, and those bunch of people will do a lot of things for you, and you're going to have a great time, and you're going to enjoy every day, and it's not going to feel like it's work.
Fantastic. I think so. What you're saying is have a vision and bring people with you and start a movement.
Make sure to find the right people who has the same vision, right? Because a lot of us have vision, and we don't know. The leaders know how to speak about it and are charismatic, and they know how to publicly speak, right? Public speaking. Some introverts, we don't know, they won't know, but that's okay. They also have a vision, and the second they found that vision that matches their vision, they will follow. They will code, they will do the marketing, they will do everything at their best. But this is why in the US there was the big resignation, right? Everybody's leaving companies that they don't believe. Everybody wants to create their own businesses and so on, right? It's because the world is switching. So please, let's forget about the industrial age and how we industrialized everything. But let's talk about, and let's think about how we're going to innovate the problems and how we're going to create a better future with our companies.
Yeah, and that's to bring people with you and look after them along the way.
Yeah. Absolutely, and they'll look after you.
They'll look after you, and we will look after each other. I think that's fantastic.
Exactly. That's a hippie world a little bit, but it is what we need, though, right?
Yeah. What's that? All the world needs is love. Okay, that's cool. All right, that'll do. Problem solved.
We're going back to the 70s. Yeah.
Problem solved. Okay. Thank you, Tim. It's been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to catching up in real life sometime in Barcelona, and have a beer or a wine. I don't know what your favourite drinks are in Barcelona, but I'm sure they fit in all those categories. A glass of water, it doesn't really matter. So thank you very much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Jeff, thank you so much. It was a great chat, and a lot of learnings here as well. And as mentioned, hopefully you're coming to Barcelona soon. It'll be wine, beers, all of it.
Look forward to it.